Sorry, I have too much time on my hands, apparently.
So are we waiting to see if they like swipe right or left? Is that what?
Probably so. I don't know which is
I
good
don't
and which
know.
is bad.
Yeah.
Um, so somebody actually in the comments below, you can let us know which is good and which is bad. But never having used such an app, I don't know.
Yeah.
But welcome everybody. This is Wander to the Edge, and that right there is Zan from Where Gals Wander.
And that right there is Adam from The Edge of Adventure.
And it's great to have everybody joining us. It is another beautiful Saturday. Great to spend this time with you, Zan, and with all the viewers and the listeners as well to the podcast. We have a wonderful guest with a wonderful story, and she's joining us actually from Asia. So she's, let's see, so if today is today here, there, it's tomorrow, right?
Yes. Once again, we are breaking the boundaries of space and time right here on Wander to the Edge. Hello.
Ohio gozaimasu from Japan. Good morning.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Ohio gozaimasu. Good morning from Japan.
Great to have you on the show. Good morning. How's the weather in Japan?
For the last almost 2 months, all we've had is rain here. We live on an island. Okinawa, Japan is 2 hours from mainland. And everyone thinks mainland Japan, high rises, fast moving. Okinawa, Japan is island life. Blue waters, slow driving, beach. And for 2 months, we've had rain, gray skies. It has been nothing what we're used to. But today is actually a beautiful day. We had a great orange-red fireball sunrise, land of the rising sun. So it's been a great day so far.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Drea, I have been following you on Instagram for quite some time. Like your photography, you're obviously a huge beach lover, right? And
Yes.
your photography capturing your experiences in Japan. And I think that's one thing I really love. Like you can just truly tell that you want to experience it. And I'm just really curious, you're a military wife. What is that like kind of being on the road and hearing some of your stories? But first, why don't we back up and give a little bit of context? So tell us about you and your hubby and your family.
Okay, so I've been married to my husband for 23 years now. He is a United States Marine and been in the service for 28 years now and is coming up on retirement in 2 years. We have 2 children. We have an 18-year-old that lives with us. He's going to college due to COVID online, but there is in-person college here in Japan. So hopefully he will get to experience that at some point. We also have a 22-year-old, and he is also a Marine stationed in mainland Japan. We have been kind of the anomaly military family, whereas most families move 2 to 3 years somewhere different. We have been lucky enough that there are 4 bases in Southern California, and my husband has just moved from base to base and commuted from anywhere from an hour to 2.5 hours daily. And we were able for 14 years to own a home and stay in the same spot for our kids to go from preschool to high school. So we're really blessed in that aspect. When it came time for orders, this last movement to come to Japan, we went to our then 15-year-old and said, hey, we have this opportunity. What do you think? And he is our outgoing choir kid, has no problem making friends, and said, let me think about it. Went to school, actually had a teacher that came from Okinawa and was teaching in California. And a couple friends that lived in the area also had previously been here in Japan. And he came back and said, they say it's pretty cool. Let's go. And that was just the go-ahead for all of us to make it complete. I had worked at a company for 13 years doing sales and marketing, and they were being bought out. And it was just kind of the perfect time to say, it's a good time for change. Let's do this. So here we are 2.5 years later, living in Japan. We were able to actually extend. That means normally we do a 3-year tour, but we're able to do 4 years here. My husband will get to retire from here in Japan, and then we'll figure out from there what our next plan is.
Well, Drea, it's great to have you on the show. And as I try to mention this at least once a show, but just to remind people that this is Friends Talking Travel. I mean, that's all this show is. It's just a group of people who love travel, love people and places, and that challenge and that experience of going to different places and seeing different places and culture and getting to meet different people. So we're going to get to hear some of that from your perspective as you have traveled, and you have an interesting story. I know you were, I think, born in Europe somewhere, if I remember correctly.
Yes. So my father also was a United States Marine, but that was prior to me even being a blimp on his eyes. But he was working for a company, an American company in Spain, and my mom was there with them, and they had me. So I say my love for travel really started at that age when I was born, and at 6 weeks old, they moved back to the States. So I've never been back to Spain, but that's on my, bucket list.
So what was Spain like? What do you remember from Spain?
The olden days, I wish someday I told my mom that that's somewhere that I would love to travel back with her to see it through her eyes. So hopefully we can do that.
So one thing I'm curious about is I have this theory, okay, that they say it only takes like one decision to change your entire life. And sometimes we're put in situations where I'm liken it to being unstuck. Like you didn't even realize that you were stuck until something happens and all of a sudden this huge opportunity presents itself and you find yourself saying, okay, like I can change my entire life just by making this one move. Have you had any other instances in your life kind of like that? Or is this the first time that you had to make a complete pivot when that occurred?
I think getting married to someone in the military is a huge pivot. You have civilian friends at that time, and when all of a sudden you get married to someone in the military and then orders come up and you have to go somewhere, you're like, but wait, I live right now 2 hours away from my hometown. I don't want to move from there, as a young bride, away from your family. And people are like, well, you married the military. That's what you should have known better. No one knows. No one knows what it's like. Even today, 23 years later, you still don't know. There's different things that pop up, and it's just something that you kind of embrace, and you're like, okay, this is what we're doing. All right, we're moving again. And it just presented itself at that time when I first got married, growth as a person, as an individual. So that was my first, I think, eye-opening change. You're 20 years old and you're moving away and you're having to do adulting. So that whole thing. But then the next huge pivotal moment, I think, for us is when we got this opportunity to come to Japan and see the other side of the world that I don't think was really on our list. Japan was like, okay, I want to go to Tokyo, but just a week is good. And now I can't see leaving Japan. I'm looking for ways that I can stay past our, military experience.
What is adulting like?
Oh, it's horrible. Don't do it. Don't grow up. Like, unless you're my children. If you're my children, grow up. Go.
So you're saying that you have, I guess you feel at home now there in Japan. And when you moved there, the youngest, who's what now, 18, right? He was 15, is that right?
He's 18 now.
Okay. So what's the last 3 years been like for him, where it's a military family, and so that's a unique experience to, if you were living there, perhaps off base. I don't know. You tell me, what's his life been like the last 3 years? Has it been good for him? How has it helped to kind of shape him as a person?
Oh, I think it's done a phenomenal job of helping him. Japan is so safe. He can walk down. We live out in town. We don't live on base, which is kind of great. You're a little more immersed in the culture. And he walks, 4 or 5 blocks to the local convenience store, and we'll, have a conversation. Now, Okinawa is a lot more Americanized. We have a lot more troops here. So there's a lot of people that do speak English, and he knows, a handful of good words, and he's able to converse with someone at the convenience store, buy some snacks, and come back. And I don't even worry about him. We went home last year for summer, 2 years ago, and I was so worried. We live in a safe area, and I was just worried about him being down the block because I knew it's different. It's just, there's something different about America than is here. It's just quiet, it's reserved. Everyone respects each other here. And I've just seen him blossom and grow. He did his junior and senior year here, and he was big in the choir and drama. And so he had friends that did all that also with him. And then COVID hit, and I think all the kids learned how to just adapt and overcome, being that majority of them are military. There's some civilian children that go there also that work for the government. Parents work for the government. But they all are just resilient, and they already know things change and we move, and they just kind of rolled with the punches. He adapted with, there's not going to be a graduation, but hey, we're going to have a drive-through. So it was something fun for them. And he's now been able to drive out in town. So in Japan, the locals don't drive until 20. That's the age of adult here. And when you can drink also. So he's counting down to that. But he was able to drive on base at 16. And then once he turned 18, he's now able to drive out in town. And you don't worry. When my older son got his license in the States, I was worried. California, we drive like maniacs. I'll be honest. I'm one of those. I'm a speedster. And he takes after his mom, and he got his first ticket within a couple months. But here everything's slow pace, and I have no worries about him driving. So I think with your second, you're always a little more just go out, you're fine. But even more so living here in Japan, I'm not worried. And it's a great feeling to be able to raise kids in this environment. I almost wish we would have came out 20 years ago when we had little kids, to see everyone here raise their children in this type of safe environment and the no worries. And there's a million parks here for kids. It's a great place for young families.
I want to go back because I'm so curious about this. And I come from, both my grandparents were in World War II. My dad fought in Vietnam. My husband's ex-military, but that was before me. And, I think there's something about the sense of resiliency that you talk about, that I saw in all of them, about just being picked up and thrown in a situation, and you just have to figure it out. That's all there is to it. But it has an impact for you as well. And talking about adulting and the fact that your son knew a teacher from, I'm totally blanking on where you are now.
Okinawa.
Thank you. Did you know anyone in Japan before you moved out here yourself? How did you acclimate?
So we knew no one here presently when we moved here, but we did know previous friends that had done this duty station. So as soon as we got word that we had these orders, I began hitting up friends saying, what do I need to know? How did I like it? How will I like it? You know me. Am I going to fit in? And then, you go to Instagram, Pinterest, Facebook, and you start reading all about it. And luckily, there is Instagram and Facebook now to find so much information. And I was able to hit a couple people up that I knew nothing about, just saw their pictures, saw what they posted about it. And I said, hey, this is our situation. How do you think we would fit in? What's the best way to go about things? And I just knew that it would be okay. It's not the end of the world. Other people have done it. People will do it after us. So we'll just go and step by step, take care of what needs to be done. And you have to start a process before you can even come here. It's not, here's your orders, here's your tickets, go. It was, you have to be medically cleared. There's only so much medical here. If you need a specialist or if you're on anything special meds or anything like that, they take all of that into account. So once we got the checklist for that, and we were good, we moved on to scheduling movers. And at home, we have a huge home, and we're moving to Japan where we know everything's smaller. What are we going to bring? What are we not going to bring? When we moved, the military had a smaller weight allowance of what you could bring, which was like 2,500 pounds. That's nothing, y'all. So we sacrificed like, holiday decor and photos for our beds because we knew we wanted our mattress and we knew we didn't have to worry about anything. And so we came here with very little, and it's kind of nice because you think, I don't need all that crap that's in storage now for 3 years. What is in storage? Do I want it? Do I want to go back to that life? So it's kind of opened a whole nother door also for when later, what do we want to do? But coming here thinking, okay, when your spouse goes to work, they already have, friends. They have a group of people they're going to know and be able to hang out with or get to know. Your kid's going to go to school. Kids are pretty good. They make friends. It's pretty resilient. But as the spouse that comes from having a career than not having a career, you're like, well, do I get a job? Do I want a job? And I went with, no, I've worked enough. I'm good. I'm going to take a pause. But then you go, how am I going to make friends? And that's the hardest thing, especially as an older person. I'm not one of these younger wives anymore with the little kids. Little kids you can make friends a little bit easier with. But as an older teen mom, it's by now you've kind of had your own life. And how do I make these friends? Thank God again for Facebook and Instagram. You're just able to go out there and, hey, does anyone want to go get coffee? And find out there's 20 other people like you that want to do the same thing. Luckily, I met someone that, you come over here with no furniture and you're trying to put together a makeshift home, which we laugh because 23 years we had a home, we had all this furniture that matched and everything's great. But now we're back to this home that has government furniture. The couch is ours, the table's not, the cabinet's ours. And you're just like, it looks like our home again is when we were newborn or newlyweds. Everything's pieced together off of Facebook, off of a yard sale. The government gave it to us, and we're borrowing furniture. And so Facebook, I met this girl, and we kept competing for these same things that we needed. And finally, we're like, you know what? We have way too much in common. We need to be friends. And we became friends. We have kids the same age. And she has friends here that she met at different duty stations and kind of led me into their group. And I became one of theirs. And now we have this great group of friends that are like a core 7. Some have left the island onto the next station. And there's a few of us still here left, and we get together when we can.
Drea, I know, of course, COVID has made it's made it a challenge to get out and to travel. And we've all felt that impact. And depending on where you are, what country, and of course, we've been at this now for just about a year, so that we've gone through different phases. But as I pull up some of the pictures now from your Instagram account, which is at anewmac, and as I'll go through some of those photos, tell us about some of the places that you've been able to see while you've been over there, and what some of your favorite, most beautiful places are.
Well, the picture that you're showing right now is amazing because that's Fukuoka. And before I even came to Japan, or when I first got here, I never even heard of Fukuoka. And so we planned a girls' trip there in March of last year. And we all flew there. There's 4 of us. And as we were getting on the plane, they're like, where's your final destination? We're like, no, Fukuoka. And they're like, no one goes to Fukuoka. They go on to like Thailand, other places. We're like, no, we're going to Fukuoka. But it was a great, weekend trip with the girls. And then we found out that day, that was when kind of COVID really hit our island. The military at that time basically said last year in March, you're not going anywhere. Flights are canceled. You are not leaving island. There's no travel. And being that we're in mainland, we're like, how are we going to get back? Are they going to let us back in? And, sure enough, we were able to come back, no problem. But after that, that's when it changed. But we have been very lucky that through the COVID this year, they have, Japan has been pretty good of containing, and then there's been flare-ups, but we've still been able to travel this year to mainland. So we were able to do a Nagasaki trip. I was able to finally go to Iwakuni and see where my son is stationed. And prior to that, we did Taiwan. And that for me was perfect because it was all the food that I wanted from the night markets, and just seeing it's a little more Americanized also. And it was just beautiful, all the temples. I'm into all the temples and seeing all the architecture of it. My son is kind of funny where he's like, you've seen one temple, you've seen them all. You've seen one beach, you've seen them all. So he's not appreciative of it as much as I am, but that's what you get with a teenage boy. My other favorite trip was we went for Thanksgiving to Seoul, Korea. And again, it was just all about the food for me. So those were our two big trips. We had so many more planned. We had Thailand planned, Singapore. We were looking forward to also Space A. In the military, they have flights that you can catch if there's space available, and Space A. And you go to the airport and you see what's available, basic, a flight maybe to Hawaii, and there's 53 seats available, and you are lined up with other families that are trying to get there, and you pay a very small fee, and you're in Hawaii.
Wait, I need to ask about this. So this sounds like a game show. So you show up at the airport with a bag, hopefully full of the right stuff. You go up and you ask, where can I fly today? And that's how you find out where you're going? Am I capturing that?
Basically. Now, probably back in the day, that's how they did it. But now there's so many Facebook groups that have the different airports that list where their flights are going, how many seats are available. So you have a little more knowledge of, if you're trying to get to Hawaii, this base, and this base all fly to Hawaii. So if we can get to this base, we can eventually get to Hawaii. And you hope that there's space for you. So, and it has categories. So, emergency leave, anyone having to get back to the States for, any, God forbid, emergency. Orders, if someone has to go on orders for somewhere. Being that we're just a family member, just going for a vacation, you're a little bit lower. And when we retire, we're the bottom of the barrel. But that was our hopes that we'll be able to do maybe like Hawaii, maybe Guam, Alaska, not some of those other ones that have been harder to hit. But that hasn't happened yet. But eventually we'll get there.
Sounds like it should be like Space Hope, just hoping that you get on the plane and hoping it's going to the right place.
Exactly.
Yeah. Did you hear that, Adam?
Also,
I have a marketing campaign for that.
Well, but at least they land the planes though with the Space A travel, right? You don't have to jump out. Okay.
No, that's a different flight.
Okay. So what is escargot? And you said you like escargot. This is like your favorite food, but you don't have to have escargot, right?
No, I'm a basic girl. I like, I'm jeans and a t-shirt girl. I'm, not fancy anymore. I'm perfect for island life. Put me in some flip-flops, I'm good. Pizza and a beer or a chuhai. So in Japan, we have chuhais, which are like a highball, as my mom would say. But yeah, so I'm basic. I can do pizza and beer, but escargot is my favorite. It's snails. You've never had snails? Oh, so funny story. As a kid, we always got to pick where we wanted to go for our birthdays. And I would pick the, steak and lobster places. Being the baby, I would pick up here. And I would order the steak and the lobster, but for my appetizer as 7 years old, I'm going to get the escargot. And the waiter I remember my mom saying, the waiter looked at my mom like, she's not going to eat it. She was like, no, she'll eat it. Bring it to her. And I did. And that was my meal. So anytime we were going on cruises, we take our kids, before we've come to Japan, we were big on a yearly cruise. So we'd do a cruise. And of course, that was my meal. I would just be like, just bring all the escargot over here. I can eat snails all day long. and I am fine with trying anything different. I love sushi, which is perfect being in Japan. I will try anything once. Um, Sometimes I'll try it twice because sometimes you don't give it your full all on the first try. So give it another try.
So you
Um,
you said you like cruises. What's I mean, obviously it's kind of can be kind of luxurious, but what is different about traveling with a cruise? Let's assume there's some people out there who haven't been on a cruise. What do you kind of get? What's the best part about that experience?
well, besides the room service and people making cleaning your room every day, um, uh, the travel. You're hitting a whole bunch of places at one time within a week, and so that's change. You're seeing, you've stopped in St. Croix, and then tomorrow you're going to be in Barbados, and it was kind of nice to see a little bit of different cultures within a week, and for the kids, they got to see, how other people live. It was great also for us. In the back of my husband and my mind, we're banking on where do we want to maybe after retirement do 30 days, and fly to another island and do another 30 days. And so, we watch, the Caribbean life and my island life, trying to, find homes. And in the back of our minds, we remember where we cruised and those memories that we have there now and where we want to go back and maybe revisit.
So I don't know about the cruising. Like, I want to go on a cruise and I want to experience it, but with my luck, it would be like, storms and seasickness, and you're locked in the room and you can't get off the boat. And so you're just stuck in this little tiny room. And like, I don't know. Like,
Zan, you don't have to go during a hurricane.
Think of the stories you can
that
tell.
would totally happen. Like, from what I understand, like, it's great when it's great, but then if it's not great, like, it's really bad.
True.
Yeah.
So our first cruise that my husband and I did, we dabbled in it because we said, the same thing. What if we don't like it? What if we all get seasick? We're trapped on a boat forever. So we took a short, just 3-day cruise, and we did. We had the choppy weather because you're not going as far, and it was cold. It wasn't warm. And we thought, maybe we're rethinking this. Maybe we should cancel the cruise that we have planned for the family and just do a staycation somewhere. And we said, after all the entertainment that they have on board, the casinos, the games, the drinks, we really fell in love with it. It was really we were never bored.
Okay.
And so we've done a all-inclusive resort also, and by the second day, the kids were like, where are we going? Why are we still here? Like, they were so used to just always being on the move, and we're always doing something, that we figured, no, that's not for us. Keeping on the move is better. So, which is kind of, I was worried about when we came to Japan, when we go to travel places, we're not going to be moving to a new place every day. And I was worried if we had gotten into that mood, but being that you're experiencing something so different, it hasn't been a problem. We haven't found any time that we vacation that we're bored. And my kids and my husband also know that when we're on vacation, we're up from dusk to dawn. We're going because we're going to see it all. And when we get home, that's when we can sleep.
Well, I want both your recommendation for cruises and then for anyone watching, like, in the comments, like, convince me to go on a cruise, or just say, stay in the car, have control. I think that's it. I think it's like a control thing, with the cruise, you just have no control. Somebody tells you where you have to be, when you have to be back, where you can go, what you can do. And like, nobody tells me what to do. Like, I want my own travel,
You can do your own travel. I mean, you can go and pick your excursions that you want to do, and your experience is different from the person that's in the cabin next to you. But it's also nice and freeing because you're not having to plan everything.
Yeah.
I've always been the one that's planned everything, from flights to itinerary to hotels. And it's kind of nice that I plan the basics. I plan how we get there and how we get home. But other than that, I don't have to worry much. So it's actually a nice, relaxing vacation for once. But so you're planning, hey, we're going to go do a dolphin excursion. Everyone good with that? Yes? Okay. And tomorrow we're going to go and just sit on the beach and have margaritas. And they're fine with that also. So you kind of learn to let go.
Yeah. How many countries have you been to, Drea?
I'm sorry?
How many countries have you traveled to?
I believe we're on 13 together as a family. Myself, I think I've been to 14 just because I went to Australia without my family back in high school. And my husband has been to a lot more, obviously, due to his service. But so we're planning to hit as many as we can together and kind of cross off. We have one of those maps that you scratch off where you've been. And so when we got it, he was like, well, scratch this one off, scratch this. I'm like, but I haven't been there. So we can't scratch it off. It doesn't count. So we're hoping to do more to scratch that map off and complete it.
Drea, speaking of planning, making plans, you guys are what you said he's going to be able to retire from the military in I think a couple of years. You said what comes after that? Or you said you want to travel. Any idea what the plans would be?
Oh, the plans change daily. There's a running joke that I have between my friends that, today we're looking at RVs. And the next day it's, we're back on, the Caribbean life. And then the next day he's like, hey, when we move back home, we should do this to the house. I was like, oh, we're moving back home? Like, so it's kind of at this point up in the air. Being that he's done 30 years, he used to say, I don't want to be in charge of anyone anymore. I don't want to get a job like that. And so I was like, Walmart greeter, there you go. Perfect. You don't have to have no responsibilities. And he's like, I don't even want to do that. I don't want to have a job. I don't want to be an adult. And I was like, okay, we can do that too. But what are we going to do? And I'm not just going to sit just at home. I love you, but I need to do something more than just sit at home. And where we live in California, my parents retired and bought the house across the street from us. It's great most days. But if he's retired and my mom's across the street, I'm going to have to get a job because someone's going to die. I love that. But we need preparation. So at this point, it's up in the air. It's let's juggle a ball and see what comes next. Let's throw a dart at a wall. I'm kind of for it all besides kind of moving back home. I think we've been so lucky to be stationary that we've done that already. Let's see what else there is. And I'm all for getting in an RV and doing the States tour. Let's go. There's so many that we haven't hit together. Let's find the little hidden, nooks, and let's do the big things. Let's go see Mount Rushmore and what that has. Hey, the kids want to join us for a week. Okay, they can join us for a week and then they can go back. Hey, mom wants to join us. Okay, she can do it for a week and then she can go back. But that's our time, I think, now to finally explore together.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, I went away. I had something I had to check on. The internet needed me to take a quick break. But I'm back. Anyway, sorry for the interruption. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, Angela Di Loretto that we had on the show a couple weeks ago just did the same thing. Like they sold their house in Vegas, they bought an RV, and now they're just going to live on the road, like basically full time. So, yeah.
Great. And I showed my husband that one. I'm like, see, it's possible. We can do it.
You're going to have to reach out to her, like connect with her and get some tips. Yes. I mean, that's one thing that I love about this. You mentioned like reaching out to other people on Instagram and Facebook to learn about Japan and where you're going. One thing that we've noticed is having people on here is that they'll reach out to us afterwards and ask to connect because they want to get to know that person, or they have follow-up questions, or they just get so excited by what they've seen. So it's just been fantastic.
Thank God for the internet and bringing people together.
Yeah.
We actually had the chance 20 years ago. My husband had orders for Okinawa, and I was, young. We had a new baby, and I was worried moving 2 hours away from my family. Now you want me to move across the world? And we found out that my husband's job here was going to basically take him away from the island anyways. He would be gone for 6 months at a time. So we thought, why go there then together? So he came alone, did a year by himself. And, I look back and I think, God, why didn't I come? It's an amazing place to be. But I think it's not the same. 20 years ago, you didn't have maps, you didn't have Google, you didn't have Facebook. So if you wanted to get somewhere, talking to our friends, they were like, you literally said, you go 3 blocks, turn at the third convenience store left, and there's where you need to go.
I miss those days.
Maybe, and it kind of printed out directions. but it's nothing like it is now. So I think, it really is a time and a place for everything. It wasn't meant at that time. It was meant for now, for us to come.
And you're going to enjoy the next 2 years. It's going to, I mean, you're having such a great time. I can tell you have a love for Okinawa. What are you going to miss most though? When the day comes and it's time for him to retire and you guys either move on, back to Southern California, or you get that RV and live on the road. What about Okinawa are you never going to forget?
Besides the food, I mean, that's a given for me, but the people. The people here are just so nice and respectful and forgiving. We may not speak the same language, but a bow and a smile goes so far. And having a few words that and they kind of laugh at you because you know them, but you said it wrong. But they know what you're trying to say, and it's just so nice, that feeling of having that and thinking, wow, we had a major war here. And these people are still so nice at embracing us. They're okay with us. And there's a few that are like, please leave. But for the most part, I've never had anyone be mean or negative or say anything about the military being here. The Japanese people are just so amazing. And I think that's the biggest thing that I'm going to take away from leaving here. I'll have the memories of the beautiful beaches and amazing castles and shrines, and the food, but the people is what I think made Okinawa for us.
I need to take a break because I have to make fun of Adam for a moment. I have to do this every show. So when we were talking about the maps, and again, lack of like technology and GPS, and I see Adam's eyes just light up. So I don't know if you've ever watched his show, Drea, The Edge of Adventure. He has this whole adventure series, docuseries that he's done. And one of these episodes is called Map It Out. And you literally see him sprawl this map all the way across the table. And like a little kid with his finger, he's like tracing the little routes and doing all that other kind of stuff. So whenever somebody mentions a map or lack of map, that always flashes into my head is that scene. It's like ingrained into me.
Just to recap, tomorrow from Managua to Bluefields,
Absolutely.
that's all on land.
Yep.
It'll be over land. And then we'll be in the skiff from Bluefields to the village of Kansas City the following day.
Yeah.
And I think we're in good hands. Looking forward to the adventure.
Yeah, me too.
And I do miss the days of having to use a map, right? And some of the other guests we've had on the show, we've had this conversation, and I think we all like the convenience. I mean, even I do. I love the convenience of being able to pick up your phone, and it's you basically have the location of pretty much wherever you're at. It'll tell you. I mean, unless you're out really off the grid. But there was just something about traveling and relying on a map just to make it, you're making an estimate as to where you are based on what you've passed and what you need to, what's the turn you need to take I don't know. It's like a big puzzle. And now it's just too easy. Now it tells us what to do. It's
totally
with the GPS.
That's kind of a memory I have. Back in the day, we used to live in Georgia, and our summers we would do a road trip back to California. And so I remember my dad going to AAA and getting a stack of maps that they've mapped out their route for him. And we had those maps that, you flipped over and you had to pull out. And that was, my mom's job as co-pilot and figuring out where we were. And so I remember those. And I used to have them forever in my glove box. And the kids are like, why do you still have these? You have your map right here on your phone. And I'm like, you don't get it. It's a memory of my dad. So it's nice. Those are nice. But I agree, because even when I'm planning out different things for us to do, yes, I have it on Google and I have it on my phone. But sometimes you're like, if I could just sit there and circle it and look out, and be able to plan it and really see it, it's just different. I get you, Adam. I get you.
Yeah. And then if you don't have an internet connection, right, we get so used to having it. You've got it in your house and all the different locations that have Wi-Fi, and then we're used to having the broadband coverage on our phones. And look, pretty much anywhere you go. You can have the global Wi-Fi if you buy, have one of those global Wi-Fi providers. And I've got one. I mean, I like it. I use it. I mean, it's pretty cool to be out in the jungle and send an email, right? That's what you want to do when you're in the jungle. But you lose something, though. You do. We've lost something. The technology is so great, and we're using it right now, and it connects us, and that's a wonderful thing. But there's also probably a lot that we've lost in the process. But again, it's great to be able to do this. And yeah, you look back over the last year, and our ability as a culture, people, friends, family, to connect and to stay connected and to keep that community going alive and to keep you connected as the viewer, as the person at home. I mean, that this year, with all that we've been through, technology was very important and was very good for us.
I agree. I mean, I have weekly chats with my mom, and thank God for FaceTime. We got her a smartphone before we left. She had the old flip phone, and I love having the talks with her as she's holding the phone this way, so all I see is up her nose. But hey, I know she's there. We're having a great talk, and it really helped because she was supposed to fly out here in April of last year to stay, see where we live, take it all in, watch my son graduate. And so that kind of was lost. But thank God again for technology, for us still feeling that we're able to see each other and have those chats.
It is amazing how the FaceTime generation, I mean, we remember when it came out, okay, it was kind of cool. But now you can be walking down the street and you see somebody holding this device up like this, and you know what they're doing, and they're just talking with and yeah, that's the world we live in. So, yeah, well, thank you, Drea, for taking the time to, let us get to know you. And this has been a great conversation to get understand your passion for culture and places and people, but also for your family. And, sometimes this sounds a little corny to say because it's overused maybe, but thank you for your service. And as you mentioned, you have, as the spouse, you have a special burden to carry in all of this. And as you take care of the family and have your own life, but you're taking care of a group that's very unique, and he wouldn't be able to do what he does if it weren't for you. So just for what it's worth, thank you for your service and all of this.
I appreciate it. It's actually a pleasure to be able to have this position in this life. So I embrace it all, and I appreciate it. Don't get me wrong. There's times where I'm grating my teeth about it also, but it's really been a fun ride.
I mean, and on the upside, you get a nice table like that. Can't beat the perks.
Yeah.
Drea, well, thank you so much. And for everyone who isn't already following you, if they're not already connected, please connect with Andrea McCullough. You'll find her on Instagram at anewmac, on Instagram. Great account, great person, great family. So connect with her and let her know how much fun it was to get to know her a little bit today, right here on our favorite program,
Wander to the Edge.